Hey guys, it's Payne. I'm really excited to introduce a brand new show to Bet the Board that combines sports and alternative investing, the very first of its kind. Sports betting and collectibles converging is inevitable. Let me tell you why. Sports cards and memorabilia are another way to get money into the market and do it without limit restrictions or the substantial hold you're accustomed to with sports betting. Whether you collected cards as a kid and are looking to get back into the hobby, this podcast is for you. If you've been collecting cards for years, this podcast will make you think and operate more efficiently. Are you in real estate? The parallels to investing in sports cards and memorabilia are uncanny. You're on Wall Street. Well, listen close. The best sports cards have outperformed the S&P 500 by 6x since 2013. And during the 2008 market crash, sports cards held up better than the S&P 500. Bet the Board, in conjunction with PWCC, presents CardBoard Chat, an entertaining, sophisticated, and informative podcast that combines sports, analytics, betting, cards, and memorabilia. Without further ado, this is CardBoard Chat with Jesse Craig, a leading figure in the collectible space, and me, Payne. A day later than usual, because we both believe the day after the Super Bowl should be a national holiday. Have you recovered, sir?
I have. Look, I had the kids with me for the Super Bowl, so did not get carried away. It was pretty low key.
Low key. What'd you make of it?
Good game. Honestly, I think that for our market, this was the perfect scenario. Hurts played well. Mahomes played well. But Mahomes won in the final seconds. So I think it a little controversy, sure. When the DB comes out and says he held, guess what? It's a freaking hold. Everybody just stop the controversy for crying out loud. And there's so many points, so many things you can point at throughout that game. I still don't think that was a catch by Goddard, but that's just me. It was a really good game. Hurts played great, and like I said, Mahomes played great. So it was kind of a perfect scenario.
I think when you put it in the context of how meaningful that game was, the stage, past performance, post-shoulder injury, that was a Jalen Hurts that I did not expect to see, because the ground game really wasn't all that efficient when you look at the running backs. I mean, whether it was Sanders, Gainwell, Boston Scott, all those guys fell well short of expectation in terms of their prop numbers for total rushing yards. Jalen Hurts carried them, and he was making some serious throws on third down that the throw to Goddard, whether it was a catch or not a catch, the actual throw.
The window was like, the window was barely bigger than the size of a football, and he had a couple third down conversions to Goddard specifically that were incredible. And I'm telling you, he played great, but the concern I do feel like Hurts is Cam Newton 2.0.
Interesting.
But like way more likable. Let's be clear here. I'm not a big Cam Newton fan.
No, you don't like the hats.
No, not a big Cam Newton guy. And he beat my Ducks in the national championship back in 2010 as well.
That's right.
Yeah. So my favorite thing I did see during that national championship, though, when we went to the game in Arizona, was a car with a window visor cover, and it was a giant check made out to Cecil Newton for $180,000. I got a good chuckle out of that. But Hurts is, you see I know he's had the shoulder injury, but you see the Hail Mary at the end of the game, and it's like,
oof.
Uh-oh. Hurts, he's got a little hitch in his throat, kind of like Newton developed later in his career. I'm a little concerned 5 to 7 years down the road for that guy, but we'll see.
The kid's a grinder. He's a worker, and
he seems like a great kid too.
Great
as
guy.
A person.
Said all of the right things after the presser. That was the one thing that was really good to me in terms of the level of respect. Right, Andy Reid, former Philly guy. They love him. You have the Kelsey brothers. Everyone was very cordial after the fact. I mean, Mahomes basically came out and said, "Pay that man," right, with how well Jalen Hurts played. So it was good. A little contention today between Juju and A.J. Brown. The interesting part is it looks like both Eagles coordinators are gone. Shane Steichen off to the Colts. Jonathan Gannon shockingly bamboozles his way into the Arizona Cardinals job. I can't really figure that one out. But I guess kind of reeling this back in a little bit, you mentioned this being good for the market. What is Patrick Mahomes winning a second Super Bowl, winning a second MVP, winning a second Super Bowl MVP mean for him and really the football card market?
I think it stabilizes his cards more than it helps them go up in value. You know, we have a pullback with a lot of high-end stuff. It went to the moon, right? 2021, a lot of cards went to the moon, early 22. And we've seen a lot of those high-end assets kind of pull back as money's gotten more expensive and less available. People aren't doubling down on, high-end tangible assets as much as they were. And so naturally those cards are going to have a pullback. Well, I think this solidifies Mahomes as, the potential second coming of the closest thing we're going to see to a Tom Brady. He's 27, 2 MVPs. It's been to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them. The only one he lost to was the GOAT. Like, we're looking at a guy who's 27 years old who could win, 2, 3, 4 more maybe. He won it without Tyreek Hill. That was all the talk, right? You lose Tyreek Hill, you've lost your weapons, you're going to be screwed. I mean, outside of Kelsey, he hasn't had a consistent receiver really on that team all year. So Mahomes done a lot with, not a ton, to be frank.
This feels like the official passing of the torch from Brady and Mahomes. Brady retires. Mahomes gets the trifecta with the MVP, Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP. The one thing that I watched in this game, what made it so difficult to assess, the Eagles did like a really good job of playing keep away. So you look at some of the volume, it just wasn't there for Mahomes with 27 pass attempts for 182 yards. But you look at the efficiency, it was through the roof.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mahomes had the 3rd best EPA per dropback of any quarterback in the Super Bowl. And as a whole, if you look at drive data, this was the single best EPA per drive of the entire season of any offense, 6th best in success rate on the season. And he did it double digits, right, after re-injuring the high ankle sprain. He had the game-winning drive. I think what's really interesting, overarching, and you hit it perfectly, it's that you think about what's coming next. Mahomes has already been paid. This was supposed to be the transition year for the Chiefs, figuring out life without Tyreek Hill, going younger, finding cheaper pieces, hoping that Mahomes could elevate some of these lesser parts around him. The Packers didn't want MVS. The Steelers weren't re-signing Juju. And now the Chiefs are going to be able to keep adding, where you think about some of Mahomes' counterparts, right? The Bengals. They need a ring ASAP because the bill is coming due. Burrow, Chase, and Higgins are all on their rookie deals right now.
Yep.
Once those 3 get paid, right? Like it's concessions to the rest of the roster. Same thing in Los Angeles. Like Herbert's still on his rookie deal. There's going to be holes. The Bills paid Josh Allen, but his deal was extremely friendly this past year, so they went up and loaded up. They're going to be losing some guys this offseason. So not only is Mahomes leading the charge with rings, MVPs, and Super Bowls, it feels like the Chiefs roster is in the best position to keep adding. I know there's some talks about Andy Reid, but if he coaches another 6 seasons, to your point, it's not really hard to fathom the Chiefs having 4 Super Bowls by the time Mahomes turns 33. That's like winning 2 more in 6 tries. Feels pretty doable if Andy Reid's around.
I agree. Like you said, the fact that this was supposed to, I mentioned Tyreek Hill leaving, but you're right with the contract situation. When you draft well and you have so many stud young players, there's a turnover period, right? You can't pay everyone, and that's what the Bengals are going to be looking at, to your point. So the fact that the Chiefs have already gotten through that, their offensive line, by the way, I know the field, the actual field itself was in question for the game. Their offensive line played incredible that game. I mean, incredible. And that really, set the stage for Mahomes to do what he did efficiently, right? So you look at that team, the offensive line getting bolstered up a little bit. If they can draft well the next couple years, these guys are going to be scary. The Chiefs are going to be scary. And so watch out.
Yeah, it was really the culmination of a lot of things, and I don't know how many people found us through CardBoard chat and now listen to the football previews, but the one constant we had said about the Eagles defense was they hadn't been tested all year. The two times they had been tested indoors, they gave up 35 to the Lions. They gave up 40 to the Cowboys. And it's why I'm stunned Jonathan Gannon's being given the Cardinals job. It's that his defense is very good, but it's preventing the big play. That's really not the Chiefs. They've materialized and kind of changed over time when everyone was taking the deep ball away from them, playing like two high shell looks, where they are now very well suited to have the quick pass game. And that's exactly what they executed perfectly. They came out, got 100%. It out of Mahomes' hands quickly so the pressure couldn't come. You mentioned some issues with the field a little bit, but I thought the game plan was fantastic. The things Andy Reid was doing with motion, you saw receivers just shooting across the formation constantly, and you're thinking maybe it's a wide receiver run, it's a handoff, all of those things to kind of negate some of the pressure from the ends. It just wasn't there. I believe Mahomes is only pressured on 25% of his dropbacks. That was about a 9% better rate than what the Eagles had done this season, where they were well, at around the 34% range. So all in all, just a great Super Bowl with a dramatic ending.
Agreed. It was a blast to watch. I was pretty worried in the first half because of our market. I wanted Mahomes to win, but the time of possession, I mean, the fact that the Chiefs only had the ball for about 8 minutes in the first half was, I'm like, God, this cannot continue and them have any chance in hell to win. So they won the possession battle in the second half, moved the ball really well, got a couple stops, and that was the difference in the game. And then that punt return to the 10-yard line. Talk about a game changer, momentum changer.
Speaking of time.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. It's time, folks. That's right. We're going to discuss undervalued and overvalued cards, or maybe even some memorabilia assets, potentially some players. Is it time to buy, sell, or hold on to these assets or players? We'll give you some opinions and back it up.
I have to tell you, I was a little surprised. You brought some vintage baseball into the conversation. That doesn't feel like you. I thought that was my claim to fame. That was my territory, but I love it. Talk to us a little bit about a player and maybe an asset or two that you feel is really undervalued this week.
I have a wide knowledge across all years of trading cards. So don't get it twisted.
I didn't mean that to be defamatory.
I know.
Your passion is a little more maybe basketball, a little more like
It is.
Basketball.
I do love baseball, but look, our company, PWCC, that stands for Pre-War Card Collector. I know a thing or two about these old cards. So looking at an undervalued this week, I kind of stumbled across, and this is usually how I come up with these every week. I'm kind of looking at our auctions and what sold, what didn't sell, and there's usually something that just stands out to me to talk about. And this week it's Stan Musial. So for those that don't know much about Stan Musial, this is a guy that is consistently in the top 10 conversation for greatest baseball players of all time. I mean, guy was an absolute stud. 3-time NL MVP, 3-time World Series champion, 7-time NL batting champion, 24-time All-Star, which I haven't done the research, but that's got to be a record. I can't imagine anyone having 25. So his rookie year is 1948, and he has a 1948 Bowman and a 1948 Leaf for his rookies. The Leaf is tougher. It's in color. The Bowman is in black and white. And to give you a little bit of a breakdown on these rookies and why I think they're undervalued, his 1948 Bowman rookie, it's only a pop 15 in a PSA 9, and you can get them for under $75K. Now, you start talking about any other top 10 player of all time, there's only one PSA 10 that exists, by the way. So there's only one graded higher. And for any top 10 player in any sport all time to have their highest graded card basically outside of a random pop 1, to be able to get that for under 6 figures is kind of remarkable. And then if you look at his 1948 Leaf, the one that's in color, it's only a pop 27 and a PSA 8, and there's 3 PSA 9s with no 10s, and you can get a PSA 8 for under $40K. So when you talk about being undervalued for one of the greatest of all time for a specific sport, it feels like Stan doesn't get enough love. And I hear people talk about baseball too, and you hear about the Ty Cobbs and the Babe Ruths and Lou Gehrig's and Ted Williams. you never hear Stan Musial's name brought up until people really break it down and do a top 10 list. And he's usually number 7, number 9, number 10, number 8. He's in the mix for top 10. And so that's why I picked him this week for my undervalued player of the week.
I like it. I think maybe because where he played, it's a little low-key, the Midwest.
Yeah.
I think he was also a little bit more reserved and quiet. There wasn't a ton of stuff surrounding him. But to your point, I mean, it's more than 2 decades of sustained dominance. And the one thing everybody would say about Stan Musial, kind of a gentleman, right? Squeaky clean, cared about his image.
The
married
opposite
the
of
high
Mickey
school
Mantle.
sweetheart. Yes, the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Right? Like wasn't out chasing women and partying. And interestingly, Musial's career was almost cut short. I was watching a documentary, oddly, like 2 weeks ago. I couldn't fall asleep at night. And Frank Lane was the Cardinals manager at the time. He wanted to trade Musial to the Phillies for Robin Roberts. And Musial said, if that happened, I'm retiring. So we almost had a career shortened a little bit because of a GM that didn't quite know what he was doing. But I absolutely love this pick. Anything else before we transition to mine?
No, I think that's really the gist of it. It's just a guy he's overlooked from a historical perspective and the greatest of all time perspective. He's just a guy that does not give the love he should. And I do, like, 1948, as you know, is an important year for trading cards. And so the fact that his cards aren't worth more than they are is just surprising. It's
absolutely bonkers. Another set that I feel is underappreciated that just doesn't get the love it deserves is the 1953 Bowman baseball color set. And, some of the key players within it. And, I kind of have thought back to the conversations that we've had throughout the first 13 episodes or so. Neither of us have mentioned the 53 Bowman color set for a second. And it just felt like a good time. It's somewhat rare to hear, but if you talk to enough vintage baseball collectors, you'll hear a decent percentage believe that this is the 5th best baseball set of all time. You have the 51, you have the 52 Bowman. When you think about those sets, they were using artists to create the cards. There wasn't actually photography that was taking place. And it just seems like if you've done some reading and some research, Bowman felt some pressure with how good the 52 top set looked that they went real photographs of the players with their 53 Bowman set. They went color photos. The borders are small, so the focus is all on the player image. Very much the first of its kind. It's loaded with Hall of Famers from Mickey Mantle, Campanella, Duke Snider, Warren Spahn, Yogi, the aforementioned Stan Musial, who you believe is a buy. And then you have Pee Wee Reese. And I think what's interesting about Pee Wee Reese within this set, it was pretty groundbreaking because by all accounts, the Pee Wee Reese card is the first action photo for a baseball set.
It's such a cool card.
It's awesome.
It's a great shot.
You just look across the board. It's like 51 Bowman, super important, right? It's the real rookie cards of Mantle and Mays, despite 52 tops getting a little bit more love. 52 Bowman was a solid product. But 53 Bowman color is kind of my favorite of that trio because of the innovation. It's not just the real photographs of the players, but they kind of break a mold here within this. When you look at the front of the card, there isn't a player or team name. The focus is on the image. It's slightly oversized, but it fits within normal grading holders, so that's not a deterrent. Sometimes big holders deter collectors.
Sure.
But this is one of the smallest sets that was ever printed as well. And so, you kind of just look at this. Mantle is the headliner. I'm a little bit more familiar with the set because of that. But you start comparing pop reports to all those big early 50s sets. 53 Bowman actually has less total graded mantles at PSA than the 52 set. Only a couple hundred more than the 51 Bowman set, still within breathing distance of the 1952 Topps mantle, and we know why that's a little bit lower due to all the cards being dumped in the ocean. I just think 1953 Bowman should start inching its way closer to some of those sets that we value so much in the early 50s.
I totally agree. This is actually my favorite set from the 50s, so I love that you picked it.
Wow. Okay.
And the 53, the Pee Wee Reese, Bowman color Pee Wee Reese, is probably my favorite vintage baseball card in general. It is like you said, it's the first real action shot that we've seen on these cards. I mean, there's literally someone sliding into second base. He is jumping, knees in the air over the guy. It's horizontal. It is a just really cool card. And like you mentioned too, the card itself is completely focused on the image, right? There's nothing. There's no text. There's no anything on it. This card is absolutely notorious for having centering issues and print issues around this black border it has. It's just a beautiful card. It feels like a Field of Dreams kind of style. I don't know why. Like that's just kind of the vibe I get when I look at like this Pee Wee Reese card for some reason. But it is just a really cool, unique set. Like you mentioned too, loaded with Hall of Famers. You didn't mention YD Ford on there too, but there's a big guy that's in that set. So there's probably 10 of the top 30 baseball players of all time are in this set. I mean, it's a monster set that's really, really cool and really focuses on the player and the image, and that's why it's one of my favorite sets. And then the condition aspect on top of it, having difficulty getting it in high grade makes it more fun to chase, but the centering and the print are just the big problems with the set. So if you haven't seen it, if you're listening to this and you've never seen 53 Bowman Color, Pee Wee Reese's card number 33, take a look at it, and I think you'll understand why there's so much love for it.
Pick a number, any number, whatever it may be. We got a number inside, but we want a magic number. All right, this is where we're going to pick a few big cards that enter in an auction over the next couple of days, and we're going to try and guess how much they sell for in advance. Throw out a number. We got one too.
Speaking of a couple monsters, we're looking at 3 cards that you've picked this week for magic number, and the first one has some heavy hitters. We're looking at the 2001 SP Authentic Triple Auto of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and Julius Erving, serial numbered out of 10 in a BGS Mint 9 grade. What do you make of this one, Jesse?
Yeah, this is just a very aesthetically pleasing card. You have 3 horizontal autographs on card autos, which is super important. This holder does not have an auto grade on it. If I were to guess, it'd probably get a 9. There's just a little, when you zoom in, there's a little bubbling on the autographs. But like you mentioned, 10 of these made. It's in a BGS 9 holder. Really, really a pretty card. One of these sold in a 9 with a 10 auto grade back in September for about $13,200. This card right now, as we shoot this, is sitting at $5,500 before the buyer's premium on our auction. It's probably going to sell, everything considered, for less than the last one did, especially considering the 10 auto, if people are paying attention to that. I've got this one going for $10,185.
That's actually a very, very good number. You're putting me on the spot there. But to your point, very early year of SP Authentic. There are 3 variants of this, all with Jordan and Kobe. The third member is the one that changes. So you have this one with Julius Erving that we're talking about, another one with Kevin Garnett as the third wheel, and then your boy Magic Johnson. So
yeah,
there are 30 copies. Late Jordan era in a Wizards uniform doesn't quite have the intrigue as the Bulls uniform Jordan does. This copy, as you alluded to, slabbed to BGS 9. It's without the auto grade. I saw that same comp that you saw. I'm actually going to come in just a touch lower than you on this one. I'm going to come in at $10,228.
That's actually higher than me.
What did you say?
10,185.
Oh, I thought you said 10,885. Okay, so I came in.
Wow,
so
you're above me.
I am above.
Oh, baby.
I don't necessarily like that.
I'm going under. Let's go.
Let me chart that. Ooh, that makes me a little nervous. I saw. Isn't with the BP over 6 already?
Yeah. So I said 5,500 before BP.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Boy, I'm all out of it right now.
God, this guy's still got 2-day Super Bowl hangover here.
Yes. Well, you have the Super Bowl, and then you do the P&L on Monday, and all of that good stuff. Okay. This next one, 2020 Panini Prism WNBA Black Gold Sabrina Ionescu. Is that her name?
Yeah, Sabrina Ionescu. You got it.
Rookie card. out of
Yeah.
5, PSA Gem Mint 10. Again, the deep end of the pool with both
Sure.
WNBA
Guess
and
what?
a card.
I'll go first
that's-
again, just to save
Okay.
you. Since I
I was
picked this
actually
one-
going to force you to this one, and then I was going to go first on the next one. But yes, go ahead.
That's
Talk
what we'll
to
do.
us.
We'll do
Okay.
that. So I always like to pick one that's kind of that throws you off, and I knew this would definitely throw you off.
Well, I now know as soon as you send the file over of the 3 cards, I'm like, yep, he did that one to be a dick. And I'm sure he's chuckling as he's typing it on the outline.
100%. I was laughing internally while I was doing this. We've got my fellow Oregon Duck, Sabrina Nescu, here. She's an absolute stud. The New
Good
York
looking
Liberty.
too, by the way.
For those, oh yeah, she married to Honus Grasu, who's a center in the league and also a former Oregon Duck.
Gotcha.
A center for football, and you know who Grasu is. I don't know why I'm saying that to you.
Yeah.
But the New York Liberty just got Breanna Stewart, who is one of the best players in the league. For those of you who don't follow the WNBA, so that makes the New York Liberty one of the favorites to win the title this next year. This is only a pop 2. We've mentioned black gold versus gold before on this program. The black golds are numbered to 5. Golds are numbered to 10. Even though the black golds are numbered to 5, whether this is NBA or WNBA, the golds are more attractive. It's just they go across too many products, and there's an affinity for them in general. And the black golds are a little bit of a one-off. So there was a PSA 9 gold of Sabrina that sold for about $5,500 back in October. This one being a PSA 10, it's a pop 2. I've got this one selling just slightly higher than the PSA 9 gold for $6,212.
Jesus, that's actually a really good number. Listen, to your point earlier, we could have talked about the current record-setting Ken Griffey Jr. PMG that's already at a record with multiple days to go, so kudos to you guys for that. You decided to show some duck love here. Black gold variant, as you alluded to, 5 copies, PSA 10, believe it's a pop 2. This is the second Panini WNBA set ever. 2019 was the first year Panini had a standalone WNBA product with Donruss. Followed that up in 2020, the first year of Prism. It's the first Chromium WNBA set for Panini as well. I saw the same comp you did. $5,500 in October for the PSA 9. The WNBA market is down a touch. Overall market down. If you're moving assets into cash, you're likely getting rid of WNBA cards before others.
What?
I am surprised we're already over 2,500 with the BP with more than 5 days to go. So I am completely lost. My mind wants to come in under you. I was actually in the low 6s as well. I'm going to stay true. I'm going to stay true to my vibe. I'm going to come in here and say 5,900, but I think this has the ability to be just so wide-ranging. I really think if it dies with another bid or two, it wouldn't shock me. If this somehow got to 9,200, it wouldn't shock me either. I think this has a ton of variance because all it takes is 2, right? And It's not going to pop up. This isn't a card that's going to maybe have a ton of unique bidders, but it could certainly have 2, and that's all it really takes.
Hey, that's why we call it magic number.
I like it. I like the branding there. The last one, I will go first, a little bit more of my vibe. Neither of us are going to look like bumbling idiots because the range is certainly smaller. 1969 Topps basketball, Lou Alcindor, rookie, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for others. PSA 7, and this is got the excellent eye appeal. A great set because it was Topps' return to basketball for the first time in over a decade. The cards are tall boys, pretty vibrant colors, so they really stand out. You have one of the greatest players of all time in the set with Kareem. A shade more than 400 total PSA 7s ever graded. That surprised me. I thought it would be a little bit higher, but these are pretty tough. They have some serious centering issues, some top-to-bottom issues, a print dot here or there. This one doesn't. Now, there is a tiny stain on the back, which could hurt its value just a touch. You guys sold one about 3 weeks ago. It leaked into the 5s. I think the stain on the back might cause this one to go a little bit lower. I'm going to come in at $49.20 on this one, my good man.
God, we think too much alike sometimes. I saw the same stain, and even though it's an E, I thought that might affect the value a little bit too. But it is an amazing copy. Correct. We did sell one just over 5K a few weeks ago. These are, look, they're a larger card too, so the surface area, right? There's more room for error and issue, and centering is more difficult. You can get a non-stickered version of this for around $3,500, $3,700. I do think the card's undervalued in general, but being an E-sticker, I'm coming just under you. I had 48.36, so we're pretty close on all three today.
I think you might be right. I didn't know if you'd seen the stain, and then I thought about I'm going to go first, so I'm going to have to divulge it. Do I divulge it and give him more information?
Look at all this strategy.
There's a lot of things going on in my mind there, but I do believe this one's going to come under the last one, although it's gotten off to a decent start.
Damn, that's a ghost. We're going to highlight a card that hasn't sold in more than a year right now, or is serial numbered to less than 100 copies produced. We're going to talk about why this card is significant, maybe in terms of hobbies or language or just the overall rarity of it all, and why it's considered a ghost.
When you sent this next one, were your plums tingling a little bit?
Oh, baby. This is one of my favorite cards, I think, in the world.
Monster.
Absolute monster.
We're talking about a 2004 exquisite collection Titleists Magic Johnson patch auto to just 5 copies in a BGS 9 grade. Talk to us about this card, this set, and the overall importance.
This is one of the rarest inserts that you can find of any player in trading cards. This is the only year that they made the Titleist insert for exquisite. So in 2004, they made this insert, has an on-card auto, game-used patch piece, and the patch window is in the shape of the championship trophy. And each of these cards are numbered to the number of titles that the player has won. So there's 6 Jordans, there's 5 Magics, there's 3 Kobes, there's 3 LeBrons, believe it or not, because they wanted to include him in the set, and they went off his high school championships. But I mean, these are incredibly rare. I do know that a Kobe Bryant changed hands privately for $900,000 about a year and a half ago.
Wowzers.
And wowzers, yeah.
Was that a 9?
I believe it was a BGS 9, yeah.
Yep.
There have only been one of these. And when I say one, I mean one from any player ever to hit the open auction block from this set. And that was in 2005. And it just happened to be a Magic Johnson card. But it's been almost 20 years since any player has ever sold from this set. And this specific card that's in the auction came from the infamous Puerto Rico collection.
Yep.
It is a absolute beast, and who knows when the next time is we'll see any of these players hit the auction block.
The only year Exquisite did the Titleist insert, correct?
Only year was 2004, correct.
30 players in the set, 74 total cards to my counting, okay? The Magic is one of the higher serial numbered cards in the set at 5, which is crazy. And it takes shape of its name, Titleist. And they did go to the college route, to the high school route, as you mentioned, because I believe Melo is in this set and it's a 1-of-1. So there are tons of 1-of-1s.
There's tons of 1-of-1s.
Yeah, many of the biggest basketball collectors believe this is the best set Exquisite ever produced. And between what I've seen posted on Instagram, forums, auctions, people sending me pictures, certainly less than 2 handfuls I've seen of all players in my life, right? And you just look, PSA is graded 2 copies ever. 1 Bill Russell, which is serial numbered to 11, and a Julius Erving. BGS is graded 22 total copies. The perfect pick this week for our Ghost segment, because you never see these. They're all locked up in collections. you never know what this could go for. I'm a little surprised with where it's at right now. I think you're going to see a late push here, a late big push, kind of some guys lying in the weeds, I feel like, on this one. So let me ask you this, little off the cuff.
Sure.
If you had, I know you're a Magic guy, favorite player. Is this your favorite card of all time? Like if you had only one card in your lifetime to own for the rest of your existence, is this the one, or where are we going here?
Yeah, I'd say this is top 2 or 3. I'm saying that because maybe, I am also a big patch guy. So if there was some crazy patch on some crazy card, like let's say a bat knob card came out that had fuckface on it for Billy Ripken, maybe I'd want that one more. But no.
And then you come to your senses.
And then I come to my senses and I go, actually, I want the Titleist. So no, it is definitely me being a Magic Johnson fan and an Exquisite fan. This is the card to own. I mean, it really is. This is top 1 or 2 for sure.
So we doing this or are we doing that? You tell me and we'll tell you. We're going to compare 2 cards right now with similar value that are completely different. Let me give you an example. Let's just say for argument's sake, you have a vintage Mickey Mantle baseball card worth $30,000. But you also have a modern day Joe Burrow rookie card worth $30,000. Which one would you rather have and why? You tell us, we're going to tell you right now.
The cards you picked out this week are very interesting to me because you threw Tom Brady in again. There were some reasonings as to why we went against Tom Brady last week in this or that, but some of those might not bear fruit this week. Very interesting. Just polar opposites, which I think makes the listeners really start to think about what these cards are, what they mean. This week has some projections ahead built in. The first card we're talking about is a 2015 Prism Orange Nikola Jokic rookie to 65 copies in a BGS 9.5 gem mint versus a 2000 metal football Tom Brady rookie PSA gem mint 10. Talk to us about what you'd rather have and maybe some things that you thought about in your pick.
I brought Tom in again because we didn't pick him last time. I wanted to set the stage for him to get a little redemption, potentially. And when I put these 2 together, I didn't know which one I was going to ultimately pick. I had to think about it a bit. But the Orange Jokic out of 65 and a Beckett 9.5 sold for $4,200 about a week ago. Big men in our space just don't get the love that shooters do. And I don't quite understand it. I mean, I love watching Jokic play. He is so entertaining, in my opinion, because the guy's vertical is about 3.5 inches. And, yeah, he's one of the most skilled guys in the entire NBA. He's won the last 2 MVPs. He's 27 years old. Seems always to be healthy. I feel like he's got a ton of upside to really solidify himself as one of the NBA's superstars. He's got to win a championship or really compete for one. Now they got Murray back healthy, Porter Jr. They've got a really good shot to win the West this year, so we'll see how that plays out. The 2000 metal Tom Brady PSA 10 sold for about $4,300, so just a little bit more expensive than the Jokic. It's a pop 188, so now you have kind of a higher pop card versus a card where there's only 65 in total that were made. He's the GOAT, obviously. These cards are down about 60% from the peak a little over a year ago.
Nuts.
So they've had a big pullback. So 10K was about the peak. They're down in the low 4s. They bottomed out at about 3,200 a few weeks ago, and they've bounced back a little bit. But looking at these 2, I'm still torn a little. I think I gotta go with Jokic.
Ooh.
I got to go with the Joker. I got to go with Big Sexy on this one.
I thought we were going to have a difference of opinion, but somehow we are both in unison. I thought this was going to be a really good debate because I talked about 135 plus Tom Brady rookie cards in 2000 last week. That was part of the synopsis. And now you fast forward 15 years to the Jokic rookie, and there's 235 plus in his rookie year. Both cards have multiple variations. We know all the colors Prism offers, but Tom Brady's Metal Rookie has an emerald version, which is about 6 times as rare in terms of how many copies PSA is graded. I think the right context is Prism Basketball is one of Jokic's most popular basketball sets. Metal isn't anywhere near the top 20 in terms of popularity for Tom Brady's rookie cards, and that was the difference for me. Now, I don't love big men in basketball because, to your point, the market doesn't seem to respect them. I mean, we hit on this just in passing last week talking about Joel Embiid, how you can get his orange Prism die-cut rookie to 139 for like $190 in a PSA 9, and the guy's in contention for MVP this year. It's absolutely banana land. I guess it's because they're not relatable to the average fan, but to me, and you hit it perfectly, Jokic isn't your typical big man. He's very skilled. He can't jump over a sheet of paper. It's a vastly different type of big man. He's not out there dunking on everybody's heads because that really isn't relatable. But the one thing that's interesting to me is because he's a big man, they typically are prone to injury. He hasn't been. His game's grounded. He's not Zion relying on being just more athletic and playing above the rim. Everyone seems to respect Jokic, and I think it's time to start thinking about him a little bit differently. And you look at some of the metrics. This season, again, player efficiency rating of 32. He leads the NBA in win share at 11.2. You start to think about him. I know he's only 27, but in terms of all-time NBA list, player efficiency rating, Michael Jordan's number 1. Jokic is number 2. Okay?
That's crazy.
It's rare I fade Tom Brady back-to-back weeks. It's rare I'm choosing a modern card with multiple variations. I actually own the Tom Brady Emerald version, but I'm going with you on this and taking the Orange Prism Jokic, especially if we're gauging it maybe within just a 3-year window, right? Jokic still in his prime. Brady's retired. You typically see that post-retirement, pre-Hall of Fame induction lull. I know Brady's out there. He's popular. Not going to be in the Fox booth this upcoming season, maybe in 2024. Who knows if he finds a different passion, but I mean the financials of that Fox deal are probably too much to pass up, more than he's made in his playing career. But you do typically see that little lull from retirement to induction into the Hall of Fame. That's still going to be Jokic's prime window. If they can make a run this season, I'm shocked, but we agree again this week going with the modern basketball card over Tom Brady.
Well, to add to all that,
Trading cards and memorabilia have seen incredible growth as an alternative investment. The company leading the growth? PWCC Marketplace. PWCC Marketplace runs the largest weekly auction of authenticated sports cards, Pokemon cards, comic books, video games, and memorabilia in the world. PWCC Marketplace also has more than 65,000 items listed in their fixed price marketplace that you can make an offer on right now. Head over to pwccmarketplace.com and see why they're the best option for buying and selling trading cards, memorabilia, and all of your collectibles.
and to round this out, guess who's the MVP favorite for the 2022-23 NBA season? None other than Big Sexy himself. He is minus 175 to win the MVP this year, with Joel Embiid at plus 400 as of yesterday. This guy could win 3 MVPs in a row. If he wins the championship this year, watch out. I think we'll see a nice uptick in his trading cards, but you just can't ignore the guy's skill.
If he gets the MVP trifecta and a championship, forget about it. This isn't really much of a debate or a conversation at that point.
Agreed.
Okay. Big things happening in about 36 to 48 hours. Is this correct?
Premier auction wrapping up. We got this Magic Johnson Titleist we talk about is closing. We've got a Curry Platinum out of 5 that's closing. A Brady PSA 10 Bowman Chrome Refractor that's only a pop 7 that's closing. Some incredible pieces. We have some game-used, playoff-worn, photo-matched Michael Jordan shoes in the auction. We've got some.
You
really,
also
really
have the
good
card
stuff.
that I've bitched about you 2 weeks in a row that's in the auction that's currently at a record with multiple days to go.
Which card?
The Ken Griffey Jr. PMG. That is already a record.
Is
With
that really
BP
already a record?
With BP, you're pushing into the 60 range, and that is an absolute record.
Awesome. Love it. Love to hear that. Love a good record.
Nothing wrong with a good record, especially when it's on your home turf.
That's right.
Everyone that we talk to, by the way, loves these cards. There's obviously some pictures with the YouTube version of this podcast, but highly encourage everyone to go to pwccmarketplace.com, sign up for an account, and this way you can see the cards that we're talking about. You just go into the search engine. You'll see all of the cards up for auction, all of the cards that we discuss on this podcast. I know a lot of you have asked. That's the easiest way to see them, and you can kind of pop it open, look at them as you're listening to this podcast. That's the best way. Anything else before we depart and reconvene in a week?
That's it. Enjoy the premiere close. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time this Thursday. Get on there, watch it. There's some guys that do live streaming for the closing night. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of action. I would suggest plugging in and checking it out.
Make sure you follow Payne on Twitter at Payne Insider. Subscribe to Bet the Board and get notified when new episodes of CardBoard Chat air on Tuesdays. And be sure to stop by pwccmarketplace.com for all your collecting needs.